physics presentation. And I'll restate, I am interested in debating not only my theory but conventional physics and the weight of the evidence for the conclusions that have been drawn, and where most of the people are pointing or leaning in terms of what they believe to be the fundamental mechanism by which the universe functions, and whether that's wise, whether the conclusions are based on a reasonable description or analysis of the evidence that exists and such. So if there's anyone capable of managing a debate that doesn't have something to do with personal insults, yes, let's go for it. Leave a comment or something. Alright, unfortunately all we have is Hoffaday and John fucking Wayne. Whatever. Tubby's lunatics. So anyway, I made a few video in response. Merry fucking Christmas. So I'm sure they're rubbish videos, because all your videos have been rubbish. And but we'll go find some videos that aren't going to have arguments in them. I've watched 30 seconds of this one. Sue me, bitch. Now, why would I sue you over a picture of a mannequin with the wrong color hair and a Hitler mustache? See? So you can't even get it right. So you're going to be so bold to say I don't have any property rights to my own image and that you can use it maliciously. Yeah, I don't think you can. So anyway, but go ahead. Just mock civilization as not having any coherent applied rules. Some people have rights, some people don't. So go ahead and mock that fact. Rub it in everybody's face. Asshole. Anyway. Twan theory. So again, I say they're force bits, doesn't matter. Change the name, doesn't matter. So he's just going to keep gayifying it or something. Because he doesn't have an argument. So isn't that what it really comes down to? Is people who don't have arguments have to do this kind of stuff? It's not the people who actually have a coherent or sensible counter-argument that have to resort to this mush. I'll make fun of the way it sounds. It's that bad. That's how desperately pitiful it is. Alright, so I watched, like I said, about 30 seconds of this, and the clips move too fast. You can't even read the damn shit. So he has a perpetual motion machine running, sort of pointing out something, where I'm the one accounting for energy, where their theories, the virtual photons, completely a made-up motion, an energy force. Completely made up. Doesn't come from anywhere. No idea that the photons have to be generated. Like every other photon in the universe, it has to come out of a flashlight. It has to come out of some device that has batteries in it or energies involved. Yet the virtual photons that come out of a magnet, no energy needed. They're the ones arguing perpetual motion. Einstein's gravity well, no energy needed. I mean, gravity pushes things down, yes, so yes, it works if it's really a well. But if you do it logically and understand it's a three-dimensional thing and it's just a convergence, no explanation whatsoever where the energy comes from. No source of energy. Another perpetual motion machine of, yes, I can move whole planets with a magical force that doesn't have to be generated through any energy generating device. No rocket engines needed. Magic. And so he attempts to argue my theory is the one with perpetual motion in it, when, yeah, it has perpetual motion in the smallest bits, the photons themselves. And I'd argue that even conventional physics sort of has to concede that, yes, that's energy conservation. The energy of a photon never stops. It never dies. Okay, so, and there's too many rules in my theory, right? I've reduced all of this complexity to just a few mechanical, kinetic rules about interactions between different things. And he's just mocking that as somehow, that's too many rules, that's too many made-up rules. And like you could just go on forever about how many rules there are in physics that were just made up. All of Maxwell's equations based on just notions of things happening certain ways. Perpendicular force. No explanation for why the force leaves perpendicular. At least I'm giving some explanation. Okay. So he starts off with and. I don't know what that is. And sometimes not doing that. More rules. And sometimes not doing that. What does that even mean? Well, I guess I'm starting in the wrong point. Yeah, okay, sorry. I had previously watched a couple of the sentences. Alright, so he calls it Twan theory. So this is what he calls a video. He could have just pasted this crap as text. So he just wastes people time. 4 minutes for what's going to be 30 seconds worth of text. Twan theory posits the existence of ultramundane particles. So again, now he's throwing 300-year-old rhetoric. So I have to be glued to Lesage gravity, even though I never even heard of it. And I'd already been making videos on this channel. And I hadn't even heard of Lesage gravity. Yet he's going to try to throw my theory into 300-year-old theory. Particles whose simple, predictable behavior. He can't even do it in because he has to do his perpetual motion machine. He could write the text across the whole screen, but no, we can't even do that. Did he put it in the description? Is it this text in the description? No. So we get nothing, but a waste of our time. And the text getting bigger just is really helpful when you're trying to read the last line and it's moving off the screen. That's very helpful also. Alright, gives rise to the universe as we know it. In Twan theory, all of matter and energy is reduced to kinetic interactions. All the motion of matter is reduced to kinetic interactions with the energy, force. So as stated, it's always been a theory of force bits, quantons, twans, and the matter bits, which aren't twans. They're electrons and protons and neutrons. So, again, what use is this as an argument? Oh yeah, there is no argument here. Cheap, infantile ridicule, but no argument. The rules. The blue and red twans interact by deflecting perpendicular. That's not accurate or complete description at all. So if you say blue and red to identify there's two kinds, like the north and south pole of a magnet. So I should just make fun of conventional physics because they use north and south to distinguish the two poles of a magnet. So I should just mock it because wait, what do you mean more? North of what? Bozo's third nipple? South of what? I should just make jokes because it's north and south. What do you mean? I can point the magnet any direction and it works. That's silly. That's an argument in your book? I mean, really. Grow up. So the rules continue, like that was a rule. Yes, there's two polarizations, right? And one polarization, so you can say blue and blue, or red and red, twans interact. Not really, but okay. By sometimes bouncing 180 degrees. It wouldn't matter whether they go right through each other or they reflect. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference in the individual interactions. But the thing to understand is the individual interactions have to do with one moving inside of a piece of matter and one moving in the free world. And that's the real exchange, is this leaves the matter, this goes into the matter. So now the matter has this way, the free space has this way. So that's the difference. Yes. And it's a 180 degree difference in motion. A thing inside the matter went from going that way to going that way. And that's a significant difference. Too complicated. That's a too complicated rule. Two things crash into each other and reflect. Too complicated. mockably complicated. So again, he tells us more rules. And sometimes not doing that. Sometimes they go through each other. Again, whether you think of them going through each other or whether you think of them reflecting, it just doesn't matter. The point is the thing that was inside the matter is now going this way instead of that way. That's too complex for you as a concept. It's hard to tell what the Tuan is bound to do at times. So he thinks I've made it too inexplicit. I've given all kinds of room for all kinds of bizarre interactions can happen. We can't predict what's going to happen. When I'm saying explicitly, the same thing happens every time two black ones hit each other. Motion is just changed. The one on the right starts doing what the one on the left was doing, and the one on the left does what the one on the right was doing. Too complex. Too big, too many rules. Way too complex. That's like, Windows 14 or something. I don't know whether this is even in the screen. Well, most of it is. I'm not going to try to fix that. Hell with it. You just have to accept what I say it says. But whatever, Tuan theory is clearly simpler than regular physics. So he contends that mechanically, that explanation of an event is, he's like mocking it, like that somehow isn't incredibly more understandable than virtual photons interacting, or non-positioned, non-momentum objects floating around in some sort of probability space where they don't have an identity. Yet, they do very direct things when there's no matter involved. When there's no matter involved, their velocity and their momentum, their direction can be completely calculated from where they land. No problem. You can go back in time and figure out exactly where they were. I don't know. Anyway, and it obviously explains much more, spelled wrong, observations. Well, again, it actually explains magnetism. What is your explanation for why magnets move into each other? Do you have one? I'd love to hear it. And your explanation for the planet Earth being, orbitally having its direction changed towards the sun. Your explanation for the energy that did that is what? Oh, that's right. You don't have any explanation. Zero. The hallmark of any good scientific theory, laughy face. So again, his theories don't explain anything, create virtual things, and have a silly notion, in my opinion, that somehow time is actually a dimension and that you can warp it. Yet there's absolutely no physical evidence that any dimensions are being warped. Just that there's a connection between velocity and how clocks work. That's all they have evidence of. And yet he has a whole grand loop-de-doo theory about what he's doing to framed space or something. And he'll laugh at somebody else's silly religion. Your religion is a lot sillier, fella. Okay, and if you disagree, that makes you a lying fucktard liar. So again, that's not the truth. You're a liar when you pretend I didn't say something explicitly and you can't paraphrase somebody correctly. That's the liar. So you tell me what physicist I called a liar, except for one misrepresenting some fact. Where did I inappropriately use the word liar? Religious kook, asshole, fat ass, fucktard. Yes, you're any one of those things if you can't even honestly paraphrase a simple theory, right? Simple facts, a simple experiment. Then what else can you be called? There's no excuse that, oh, it was too complicated. I didn't know there was single slit interference. I'm a physicist. I didn't know single slits made patterns. What's the excuse? Pedophile that wears ugly shirts. whatever. I mean, clearly the insulting rhetoric is started by you people, not by me. And that's proven in every opportunity I have to have a conversation with somebody, do something. There's no, I'm not the one that's the aggressor. You assholes are. And then you pretend you've been offended somehow when you did all the offending. That makes you another, that's a reason why somebody could call you a liar, and it's perfectly appropriate. Because you lie about the fact that you're some sort of innocent character that hasn't committed any rude trespasses. Because that's all you can do. It's all you're capable of. So this is a response video in some way to the physics. So all he so far has pointed out that there's something stupid about having a mechanical interaction in the universe that involves reflection. That's stupid, silly, nonsensical. Let's see. For mentioning that you disagree. Again, where did you do any of that? Where did you mention that you disagree? And where did you in any way provide evidence supporting the fact that you're legitimate in being an arrogant fuck? Where did you do any of that shit? Oh, that's right, you didn't do any of that shit. You just made a bunch of rude and obnoxious statements insulting other people's intelligence based on the fact that what degree do you have? You know. None. This is slower than I even thought. So now he's writing over the image, so that's really clever. And, you know, in the sense that he gave the image more contrast, made it black. You know, so yeah, that just works really great. Thanks. Despite the obvious brilliance and clear-cut superiority of Tuan theory, so, you know, he's done nothing to even talk about what the theory does, which is create an actually energy conservative theory that doesn't invent virtual things, or doesn't create bent things that can't be seen, or dark matter things, or a bunch of magical forces, or magical abilities of photons to do radar and to figure out where they are and where they should go and all this kind of crap. I give you a mechanical explanation, and I don't have a right to say, prove it wrong before you can ridicule it. Over the standard model, the question may arise in the astute mind: how do we know that the rules, as previously laid out, logically and necessarily give rise to the exact universe we are in? Well, you don't have to do the whole universe at one time. All you have to do is show that there's something goes into an experiment, you get a result out, and your model, your explanation explains why, what happened in the process. That's all you have to do. For each little kind of phenomenon, you just have to have an explanation for the results of the experiments. And so why don't you point out what experiment I don't have an explanation for? I mean, besides maybe the lensing images, which, yeah, I don't have a clue what kind of, why you have blue things when they shouldn't be. Well, I do have a clue. I did actually explain it's probably something that exploded, and the remnants are moving out, and that's why there's some remnants on this side, some remnants on that side. So I did provide an explanation. Anyway, how do we know that the rules, as previously laid out, logically and necessarily give rise to the exact universe we're in, along with the exact same laws of physics we observe? So again, the laws of physics we observe go back to Newton, the inverse square law. And all Einstein did was turn that into some sort of bent, forcey magic thing as an explanation. So instead of explaining it as force, like light coming out of a light bulb, obeying the inverse square law, or light reflecting off my hand, inverse square law, instead of explaining it by an actual force radiating, he explained it with a bent fabric. But the radiation explanation works perfectly. Straight line radiation creates exactly the rule, which is the inverse square law. So again, how I violated the exact laws of physics of the universe. What exact law does my theory violate? What mathematical formula does it violate? It doesn't violate any of them. So again, you're a liar to imply there's a violation when you haven't provided any evidence of it. Guess I could speed this up maybe, but I guess the little interludes are perfectly fine. Gotta wait for it. Alright, the answer is, of course, that the rules as previously laid out do not in any way, shape, or form logically entail the exact same universe we're in. So there's absolutely no evidence of any violation of any rule. I'm the one defending energy conservation. I'm the one defending the inverse square law and the way it's produced in most every circumstance except your magical ones. It's produced by radiation, straight line radiation. My theory is perfectly consistent with the evidence. Your theory is the one where you change the mechanism. For the small universe, we're going to use quantum mechanics and probability waves and all kinds of mush. For the big universe, we're going to use bent space and bent time and warped bullshit. And you're the one saying somehow you have the diagram that works. Your diagram is made out of invisible men. It only works because you've created a bunch of wild cards that can be anything, and filled in all the blanks with wild card puzzle pieces. You haven't put the puzzle together at all. You just keep inventing fake things to fill in the spaces for the reality. I'm actually using the real pieces that are available, the real mechanisms that we know exist. You're the one using the virtual mechanisms. Scumbag. Alright. Let's see, of course the rules, anyway, shape or form logically entail the exact same universe where in fact, therein lies the true brilliance of quantum theory. It can be used to explain the laws of physics in any universe one wishes. I don't even know what I'm supposed to waste my time thinking about other universes. So you think there's other universes and you have some model of them that somehow describes them as having some fundamental differences that you are aware of and know about. And therefore you can say that somehow I have to explain alternate universes or something. What the fuck is this nonsense? The obligation of physics is to describe the physical world we live in. It's, you know, I don't think it's terribly useful to speculate about some other universe that functions in some other way. God damn. In fact, the obvious truth of quantum theory may be used to infer the existence of infinity, many multiverses. So it does exactly the opposite. It doesn't infer any of that. It infers that there's no turtles all the way down, there's no anything all the way down, and if there's anything all the way down, it's a hammer and a nail. It's a really simple mechanism. There's no room for any multiverses or any affinities, because it already shows how it goes down to one single mechanism. It goes down to simpler things, not more complex things. There's no more complex structure. It's made out of wood. Okay, it's a wooden house made out of wood. So it does exactly the opposite of this lie, that somehow my theory infers infinities are multiverses, when it's their theory that has explicit infinities put into it. Huygens, explicit infinity put into a confined space. As a rule, as a principle. That's your physics. Your physics is dependent on contrived infinities where you want them, and nothing ever going down to something simpler. Every field is much more complicated than the things moving in it. Like the electrical field and the magnetic field are certainly more complicated than any photon has ever been. That's somehow being manipulated by those fields. So this is what he calls a video, by the way, right? So it's not I'm just saying, this is crap text you can just put in the comment section. With different laws of physics than our own. So again, so he's implying I speculated on the existence of multiverses with different laws when I just couldn't give a shit. I never said any such thing. I never even speculated about such thing. I don't see any mechanism that implies extra universes. I don't deny, I'm not saying I know they don't exist, but I don't know they exist, and I don't have any reason to believe they would work any differently than this universe works. That the inverse square and everything else would be the same shit, that would be made out of the same wood that this universe is made out of, the same force bits. Do you see now the genius of Twan theory? Question mark. So he just lies about what it says, and then he says, "Oh, you think that's right to have multiverses and blah blah blah, and infinities?" Yeah, no, I'd say a theory that's got a bunch of infinities and multiverses in it is probably horseshit, and mine doesn't. For it entails the existence of a, again, he's saying it again, it entails the existence of a multiverse. Where? How do you make that assumption that it entails any such thing? It basically says there's these little bits that are standard bits that move one speed. Why is that inferring that in some other universe there are different size bits moving at some other speed? How does the theory infer that? Amazing liar. For every possible and impossible world exists, presumably in alternate dimensions. So again, where have I even speculated about the existence of dimensions? What the fuck is he doing here? How can he get this wrong? He's arguing the defense of the dimensions. He's arguing that time is a fucking dimension. You know, forward, back, left, right, up, down, time. No, sorry, not the same thing at all. Idiot. God, just amazing. I mean, you don't think that's lying about somebody. I mean, to so butcher a paraphrase of a theory. Not one video have I done suggesting a multiverse, suggesting that there are any changes in the laws of physics somewhere. Not one. Because quantum theory is obviously true, we can use the fact that it is true to infer the existence of these alternative universes. Again, you have to infer it based on suggestion that it exists. Again, I've suggested no infinities, and I have no need, because I don't have an energy conservation problem. I don't have to use another universe to sweep my error code under the other universe's rug. That's what string theory is doing. They're using other universes to account for energy they can't account for. I don't do that. We can state with unequivocal certainty that there exists an alternative universe where Caesar was not assassinated, where Martin Luther was never born, and even one where Gary Mosher unifies physics following those whatever treasonous blunders of Einstein and Planck. I don't know, where did Planck get thrown into the blunder pile? I mean, I'd say he was wrong to think waves was a rational description of reality, but Einstein's are really blunders. I mean, creating constants, and is not a bad idea if they're relative to some actual is Bayesian conservation. There is a certain amount of energy that's used to move an electron a certain amount of distance, and it requires a certain amount of force to go in. Recognizing that fact is not a crime. Einstein made the mistake of saying there is no force, there's mathematics that's making it happen. There's a magical, it doesn't have to be a force thing. Movement without a force. We'll just bend nothing. We'll bend to nothing, and somehow bending to nothing creates usable energy. But therein lies the contradiction of logic, for if quantum theory is true, and it's obvious and clear truth logically and necessarily entails the existence of every possible conceivable and non-conceivable, that's the same thing, isn't it? No, it's something else. universe, then there must exist both universes in which the truth of the theory is demonstrable and one in which its falsity is demonstrable. So again, what is this whole conversation is just so fucking idiotic in the sense that it's not even close to the truth. Their theory is the one with the multiverses. There's no multiverses. There's no second universe where I get to be another person, just one photon different. I never suggested any such nonsense. That's your Copenhagen shit. That's your many-world explanation of the two slit experiments, not mine. How do you stick this crap on me? Amazing. And in this paraphrase he says is honest. This is an honest mistake you made? It's a question. Anybody saying this is an honest misdescription of reality again? So here you point out how their physics is founded on a bunch of wrong interpretations, just completely wrong statements about what actually experimentally happens, and their defense is to lie some more. That's how they prove they're not liars, is by lying some more. Amazing. And there is also one in which it is unprovable either way. So again, where's the proof that space is bent? Because there's an inverse square law. Einstein proved that space is bent, even though we can explain inverse square laws by radiated force. Because Maxwell was an ether nut and didn't want to think that the radiation coming off of magnets was a particle, he turned them into a virtual one. I mean, you're saying that can't be possibly a mistake. It's not possible that Einstein's wrong, that the inverse square law doesn't exist because space is bent. It's not possible that that's incorrect, in your opinion. The evidence is so overwhelming that you know space is bent and time is bent. There can be no other explanation. Not possible. You've studied it. You've thought about it. You obviously know all the other possible explanations, and you found them all to be wanting. With what evidence? Oh, by making videos like this demonstrating that you couldn't give a shit about paying the least bit of attention to alternative explanations. You just couldn't care less about the truth and defending it in any kind of honorable way. You have to defend it by lying. That's how desperate you are, because your truth is so fucking weak. Let's see, and since there's no way of telling whether we are in a universe which quantum theory is demonstratively true or one in which it is demonstratively false, there's no way of telling whether a theory is true or false by weighing it against the evidence, by saying does it match what actually fucking happens. And as I've pointed out, I've matched it in ways I've not only unified, which physics was incapable of doing, I'm giving you a simple mechanical explanation that explains why the Earth moves towards the Sun, and why magnets move into each other, and why protons and electrons move into each other, and why electrons and electrons repel. I've explained mechanically why these things happen, and your theory has no explanation. Absolutely zero physical explanation for the events. Amazing. And somehow I haven't demonstrated anything. And that's being fair. That's a fair evaluation of what's taking place. What this asshole is right. This is what people think is fair and accurate. That's why the world sucks. It's because these assholes aren't humiliated into the concrete. They should be humiliated all the way to the molten core of the Earth. Or one in which you can neither be demonstrated to be true or demonstrated to be false. You can neither be certain that a given demonstration of the truth or Tuan theory is in fact a valid proof. Again, just saying the word Tuan isn't a proof, asshole. It is being consistent with the evidence. Being consistent with explaining why the experimental results come out the way they do. And that's what my theory does. It explains why Maxwell's equations are correct. How mechanically they can be correct. Where you provide no explanation for any of the energy or the force or the something that makes these things move. You don't have an explanation for why they move. Alright. is rather a fallacious one. Therefore, there is no point in attempting to prove or disprove Twan theory. So this is how desperate they are. They just want to say, we're anointed, we've established the truth, we will now, we're going to knock the game board over now, because we're done playing. So we don't have to test theories anymore. We don't have to point out how God is irrational, or some other truther theory about 9/11. We don't bother demonstrating it to be based on lies and nonsense. There's no way of finding out the truth anymore. No point in having courtrooms, no point in doing trials, because nothing can be figured out logically. And you're only saying that shit because you just know you're on top now, and if I break the rules and there's no more trials, then nothing can change. And you can stay in your little deluded cartoon world. The cartooniverse. The cartooniverse is where you live now. You're a really ugly cartoon character. So, last one. Given the futility of any method of scientific inquiry designed or purporting to prove or disprove Twan theory. So again, you can't make arguments defending something, you can't draw pictures explicitly diagramming something, and it just won't work on these assholes. He's basically just saying, yes, we're so belligerent, so out of our minds, that you might as well not waste your time making a rational argument about how I preposterously misparaphrase your theory, how I haven't provided one single bit of evidence of how there's some event in the universe I haven't properly accounted for or explained. No, you just keep doing this lying. So it may even be in the interest of the greater good that all such heretics engage in such impetus behavior be rebuked and suppressed from engaging in such future designs by power and force and sanction of authority. What does that even mean? I mean, what are you defending? You're just so obnoxiously full of yourself. You're an ignorant slob defending silly people. And you're doing it as a bully. And that's all you have. And you sit there and post comments on my videos pointing people to this rubbish as a counter-argument, this absolute steaming piece of shit as an argument. I mean, you really just be so fucking embarrassed. I mean, I wish I could meet your parents just to know what kind of crap could spawn such an asshole. You're a despicable asshole to think this is some kind of valid counter-argument, that you're preserving something cherishable in some way by lying and making completely false and idiotic accusations about what has taken place and who has proven what and who has provided evidence of what. You're just such a piece of scum. Alright, so it's time to block the asshole. Enough of this shit. So anyway, till next time and such. So forth and whatnot. So depressing. So can somebody please do better than this? Can somebody please make an argument better than that? And yes, let's do it mano a mano. Let's do a live room of some kind. So if you think your physics has deep integrity, let me challenge not only your knowledge of the physics, but the reasonableness of your inability, if you are unable, to say the words, yes, the evidence is weak. You can't say those words. You're just being dishonest. Because it's incredibly weak. You've built a whole house of cards on crap. And there is an easier, more reasonable, more thorough explanation sitting right here. It's right here in my hand. You know? And you're just pretending to think it's not right because it's too simple and covers too much to be a wrong answer. A wrong answer can't be this simple. It's fact. Logic. Do some fucking logic. Asshole.